Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a fabulous Wednesday. Today I have my updated 30-day review on the Samorga organizer. These two were sent to me by the company to try out and I've been using them quite a bit. The first one is for my Speedy 25 bandolier from Louis Vuitton and the other one is for my Deauville for my Chanel tote. So what I'm going to do is kind of like what I do with other reviews. I'll give you guys details on each of these, like measurements, and then I'll give you pros, cons in general when it comes to organizers, and then I will get into the specifics of each one and my recommendations and did they change my thoughts. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Before I get any further into the video, I just want to give you guys a quick reference as to the bags that these organizers were for. The first one is for the Speedy 25 bandolier, and the other one is for the Chanel Deauville tote, and this is the large size 30 centimeter. Okay, and as far as the measurements and the style numbers, I will put everything on the description box below if you guys are wondering, and please forgive me if I keep looking down at my notes. I have quite a bit that I don't want to leave out. Okay, so with the first one, we'll start off with the one for the bandolier. This is style number LVS 252. This is in the color pink. It looks like it would be a hot pink, but it is just pink. And this features the 2mm felt. Now this one, as far as measurements go, is 8.9 inches in length. It is 5.5 inches in height and 5.1 inches in depth. This one has a total of 8 pockets. You have 4 exterior pockets. You have 2 in the front. You have 2 in the back. There are none on the side. And quickly, that is what the bottom looks like. And then on the inside, you have those other 4 pockets. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. They're like little slip pockets, and then an open compartment. But this particular style number also comes with a removable extra organizer, if you will. So if you end up putting this inside of the organizer, you end up turning that one large compartment into 6. The reason why I didn't want to put it in and then take it out, it's very easy to put in and take out, but I didn't want to do that on camera because I know a lot of people aren't a fan of the sound of Velcro. So I thought I would refrain from doing that. So just to give you guys an example, that's pretty much what it looks like if you were to add the extra little piece inside. So you have quite a bit more organization. And this one is for the Deauville. This one doesn't have a style number. When I was talking to Samorga, I actually gave them the measurements on the Deauville and they ended up custom making it. They did contact me afterwards and said that moving forward that they will incorporate this into their styles to choose from because they really liked the way that it ended up fitting. So that was really great. Okay, but this is in the color Cloud. The color is a little bit more of a cool gray. It does have a little bit of a blue undertone. This features the 3mm felt wool blend. And the wool blends are a little bit more expensive, but the colors are a lot more vibrant than the ones on the 2mm. And as far as measurements go, this is 13.5 inches in length. It is 7 inches in height and 6.5 inches in depth. This also features a total of 8 pockets. It doesn't have a removable little sleeve like the other one does, but that's what it looks like. It doesn't have any exterior pockets like the other one, but there's the front, there's the side, the back side, another side, and the bottom. I always like to show you guys all of the angles just in case, but like I said, you do have 8 pockets. You do have a really generous one right here that I really like to be able to put maybe your larger paperwork if need be, and you have a little lipstick one there as well. So it's just an open compartment and you have a little space here for a water bottle. Now on to the pros. When it comes to organizers, a lot of you know that this is something that's really new to me, and even though I appreciate organizers and base shapers, I've never really gravitated towards them. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but I never thought about adding them into my lifestyle or anything like that. And usually when it comes to, for example, the Speedy, a lot of people aren't a fan of the Speedy sag. That's one of the characteristics, one of the details that I love about the Speedy. So I know that by using a purse organizer or a base shaper, it's something that you can really end up helping that sag not be so prominent, you know? But I'd have to say that one of the biggest pros for me when it came to this organizer, with these organizers, was the fact that they keep your bag structured. And I am a huge fan of that. Even though I do like the hobos and I do like slouchy bags, I prefer structured handbags. It's something that I end up really going for me to be able to put my handbag on a chair or on a counter without it turning into a beautiful mess is something that I always end up going for. So the fact that they keep their structure, they help the bags keep their structure, is probably the biggest win for me. I know that might not be the case for some of you guys, but I really appreciated it. Another pro that I have to say is how incredibly easy it is to find your items. I know that's going to be the biggest win for some of you guys, because how many times are you at the checkout and let's say that you are looking for your phone, your wallet, your keys, or whatever it is, and you're sifting through all your items. You missed that phone call or whatever it is. The fact that you have everything, you can open up your handbag and see everything at a glance is a definite game changer when it comes to organizers, you know. And it's crazy, especially if you have a bag that has really dark interior. If you end up going for a lighter color, or if you go for a pop of color or whatever it is, you can end up finding those items that much easier, especially if the handbag is a little bit smaller. So being able to find your items was a game changer for sure. It was a nice treat to be able to open my bags and just see, oh, those, you know, those are my keys, that's my phone, I need this, I need that, without having to spend, you know, an extra 10-15 seconds, let's be honest, you know, going through all of your items, because usually you end up going for the item that ends up sitting at the bottom of your bag. Am I right? Unless you don't, I mean, especially if you don't have compartments for all of your items, if you don't have them all in small leather goods or anything like that, you're usually looking for that one item that's at the very bottom of all of your stuff. So major pro for that one. Another pro that I'd have to say, and this might be a little bit different, is the fact that you can add a pop of color to your handbags without commitment. I think I might have even mentioned that on the reveal video. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you're a fan of the Louis Vuitton Neverfull, and you know, you're debating between the beige, or maybe you want one that has the colored interior, and you love the color now, your heart is singing for it, but then you're thinking, what if I fall out of love with the color, then I'm stuck with a colored handbag, the colored interior of a handbag. But by using an organizer, you can add that pop of color. You can interchange the color. So let's say that you end up getting 2 or 3 of these. One day you feel like rocking pink, another day you feel like rocking red, blue, or whatever it is. So the fact that you can add that pop of color without the commitment, I think is another great thing to look for. And since we are on the subject of adding pops of color, I feel that you can also end up, you know, killing 3 birds with 1 stone. So you have the pop of color, you have the organization, and it keeps the bag structured. So it's, you know, it has a lot of positives to it. And the last pro that I have to say when it comes specifically to the Samorga is I really like the quality of the organizer. I really like the way that the wool blend and the felt feels. I feel that, you know, it's not pilling or anything like that. And it doesn't feel flimsy. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. It doesn't feel like, you know, if you end up scratching it with your ring or with your nails or anything like that, that you'll end up having this huge scratch or anything like that, because it does have that really nice soft material. So the fact that it ends up cradling your small leather goods with this type of felt that's very soft, you don't have to worry that it's going to damage your items. And I also wanted to mention that I didn't have any color transfer when it came to these. I know that I had talked to them and I asked them if that's something that I should look out for, and they had mentioned that it wasn't, but I just wanted to make sure. And I did use this with my Tahitian Demi Azur. I used it with some of my other small leather goods from Chanel that are colored, and I didn't have any color transfer whatsoever. So I thought that was also a major plus, because let's say that you end up going for a black one, or you end up going for a burgundy one or something like that, you don't have to think that, oh, I'm going to have color transfer and now I ruined my small leather goods. I would still end up contacting them, just to make sure, especially since these are lighter colors than, say, getting a black or a burgundy. But like I said, I didn't experience any color transfer with these whatsoever. Now let's talk about the cons. When it comes to the cons in general of an organizer, they end up adding weight to your handbag. And I believe in the first video I ended up weighing the bags with and without the organizer to give you guys a quick reference. But let's say that you already have a tote that's a little bit heavier. If you end up adding an organizer to it, you can really end up seeing the difference. Even though it is the felt and you know, it's very lightweight in a sense, it does add the weight to your handbag. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Another thing that I wanted to discuss really quickly, it's not necessarily a con, but I thought I'd give you guys a heads up, is the shipping time in specific when it comes to the Samorga. Now, when I was talking to them, they shipped it out. I believe I got it a few days later, so I didn't have to wait a very long time in order to receive the item, because they are shipping from overseas. But when I did that video, I had a lot of you guys message me and say that it can take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to get the item, especially if it's during like the holiday season or anything like that, when a lot of people are going for those orders. It might be a little bit longer. So again, just to give you guys a heads up, the shipping time is not the same as what I ended up experiencing. So, you know, just thought I'd throw that out there because I know that the anticipation of using these doesn't end up helping the wait time either, you know? So you're like stalking the tracking number, you're waiting for it to show up so that way you can end up rocking it, but you know, waiting that amount of time can be a little gut-wrenching at times. Now for the specifics on how I felt about the organizer inside of the Speedy 25. I'll have to say that I wasn't the biggest fan of the length of this organizer in the Speedy 25, only because you do have a 1.5 or a 1 inch gap on either side of the organizer. It's not the entire length. So kind of like with the Deauville, when I gave them the measurements, I wanted it to fit like a glove. I didn't want to have those gaps, because those gaps, as you end up using the item, as you end up using the bag, I feel that you'll end up having a little bit more creases. At least that's just my assumption. I could be completely wrong. But for me, I just wanted to have something that just ends up fitting the entire length of the bag. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that with the organizer, I felt that it made the Speedy 25 bandolier a little too boxy. And when I would end up using it crossbody, it would end up just kind of sticking out a little more than I would have liked. And what I really like about the 25 is that even though it doesn't lay flat up against your body like the Pochette Métis or anything like that, something that's not as, you know, it doesn't have as much depth as this bag does, I still like that it doesn't seem to be too cumbersome. It doesn't seem to be too bulbous when you end up using it crossbody, you know what I mean? So by adding this, you end up having the shape, yes, but it just makes it a little too boxy. I also wanted to mention that I don't feel that the 25 needs an organizer necessarily, only because of its size. It's already a small handbag. It's not too large, so you're able to find your items. Yes, it was beneficial to have the lighter colored interior to find those items a little bit quicker, but still, I think the bag, the size is perfect enough that you don't need an organizer. And to be honest, whenever I would end up using it, I would very rarely use the extra sleeve, only because I felt that it kind of, it made the bag feel a little busy. It made it feel a little cramped, if that makes any sense. So I would end up putting the sleeve in there, and even though I can see everything at a glance, it just felt like there was too much going on inside of the bag. So usually I would end up taking the sleeve out and just using it as such, so I had all my items in the open compartment. That's probably why I'm a big fan of how the Deauville, you know, how the Deauville organizer is. I like the fact that everything was out in the open. It didn't necessarily have to be in pockets, only because I already have my small leather goods or I have my items inside of small leather goods. So it's almost like putting a bag within a bag within a bag within a bag. Right? Yeah. So I just liked everything to be together, not necessarily have its own little compartment. And I also wanted to show really quickly, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. This is just an assumption of mine, but because the organizer ends right here, if I ended up using everything and the kitchen sink like I normally do when it comes to Speedies, I felt that you can end up seeing this crease that the organizer caused a little bit more. It was a little pronounced. You guys probably can't see it. You probably think I'm crazy. But you could see it here, especially if I was to put like a cardigan or a scarf or something in there. I just tried it out. Of course, it's too hot to put any of those items on. But you can really end up seeing that line. And for me, I usually try to take the creases out of the Speedy as quickly as possible by stuffing it with air paper or anything like that. So I was able to notice that, and I was wondering, you know, over time, what if that ends up being a little bit more pronounced if I end up using a little bit more items inside? Of course, I can always refrain from using everything like I normally do inside of the Speedy, but that's what I like about the shape, that I can fit everything in there, you know what I mean? So I ended up seeing that crease a little too much. So I would actually end up taking the organizer out to stuff it with my regular air paper, because if I ended up putting the organizer and the air paper in here when I would store it, then you can really end up seeing that line on here. So again, I thought I'd just give you guys a heads up. Now I feel that, you know, like I said, I don't think that the 25 needs an organizer. I much rather see it on a classic Speedy than on a bandolier, only because of what I mentioned before, because it's a little bit boxy with an organizer, and if you're going to use something crossbody, you don't want something that's going to stick out too much. So I prefer it on a classic Speedy over a bandolier, and I prefer it more on a 30 versus a 25 because of the size difference. And remember, if you were to use the organizer inside of the 30, I was able to do that. You are going to have a little bit more of a gap, kind of like I already did with this one, because it's it's not the entire length of the bag. So if I was to put this inside of the 30, you'll have, I think it was 3.5 inches total if I was to push the organizer all to one side, that you would have that little bit of a gap. And of course that gap, I ended up putting air paper in there just to try it out. I tried out different ways to see how I would store it or how I would use it. And sometimes I would end up putting tissues on the side just because I didn't want to have, you know, that extra space just kind of be open, because I want it to wear evenly. I want it to have a uniform look. I don't want it to have a little bit more creasing on one side than the other. And by using an organizer, I feel that that might end up happening. But I'm sure that if I was to contact Samorga and if I was to give them the exact measurements, they'd be able to find an organizer that fit this like a glove. So that might be an option for you as well. As for the Deauville, did I like it inside of this bag? Absolutely 100% yes. I loved it. This made this bag so much easier and so much more of a joy to use, because the Deauville, as great as this bag is, because of the material that it has, it definitely ends up losing its structure. It starts to get a little bit of wrinkles going on here. It doesn't even matter how much I ended up stuffing it, it would still end up getting the wrinkles when I would go to store it. But this is what I was talking about earlier. So when I put this bag down, it just kind of turns into a flat, beautiful mess. It's beautiful nonetheless, but it's not really something that I'm too keen on, you know what I mean? Seeing the bag just kind of lay flat. But by adding the organizer, I was able to rock the bag, set it down, and it just kept its shape. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it made it that much better to enjoy the bag. And I think I even mentioned that in one of my posts on Instagram. But just to give you guys a quick glance, that's what it looks like inside. So especially on this particular combination of the Deauville, because I do have the black interior, if I am using black small leather goods, if I end up using all caviar small leather goods in here, they all start to look the same. So I'm sitting there looking through everything. But by having the organizer with the light color, I was able to find everything at an you know, with a breeze. And again, there are no gaps, so I really, really love it. I just think that this is perfect in the Deauville, and I can only imagine how great it would end up working out with other totes. So it was a major, major win for me with the Deauville, but check it out. So if I end up setting it down, look, I'm not holding it up. This is awesome. I love it. It ends up sitting up, and it also ends up helping when I do go to store it to keep its shape, so I don't have to worry too much that it's going to have these little wrinkles. It'll still end up happening, but I feel that I might end up prolonging its life a little bit more. So it made this bag just absolutely amazing to use with. So the million-dollar question, did it change my views on how I see organizers? Yes and no. I think that I appreciate organizers a little bit more. Now I get why people are so attracted to them or why they like them so much, especially for me, as I mentioned, the structure, the fact that I could have that structure. And, you know, while I end up moving in that direction moving forward, not necessarily. I think that for me, I'd end up going for an organizer in totes. I really like the way that it worked out with totes. I thought it was fantastic. The fact that they kept their shape, the fact that I was able to find everything, and even though they did add the weight to them, I feel that the pros outweigh the cons in that particular instance. So I'm a fan of it in, you know, like I said before, open totes like the Deauville, and not necessarily too crazy about it inside of a Speedy 25 bandolier. So do I recommend it? I think that it's all personal preference. I think that a lot of people I know will disagree with me when it comes to what I'm saying in this video, but I've always told you guys I'm going to be honest about my feelings on some of these things, and while I think that organizers are great on some bags, they might not end up working out for other bags, especially ones that are already small enough to where you can find the items, such as the Speedy 25 bandolier. So like I said before, recommendations, it's all personal preference. If you are someone who has a small handbag and you don't carry too much, then no, I don't think that the organizer is for you. If you are someone who has a lot of small leather goods, if you end up carrying a lot more in your bag besides small leather goods, if you end up carrying you know, scarves, sweaters, if you end up carrying notepads or whatever it is, and you have larger bags, I think that the organizers are perfect. But either way, you know, who am I to tell you what you should try out? But I'm just giving you guys my 2 cents, my thoughts on these organizers. And again, a major, major thanks to Samorga for allowing me the opportunity to try these out. I am looking forward to using the organizer with my Deauville. I don't think I will switch back to without an organizer in the Deauville just because I was that big of a fan of it. Remember, they are giving you guys 20% off your entire order until the end of the year if you use the coupon code down below, and I will make sure and put it on the description box just in case. But you know, hopefully this video is helpful. Hopefully I was able to give you guys a little bit of insight, especially if you're thinking about the type of organizer to go for. And they have so many to choose from, and it doesn't necessarily have to be for a Deauville or a Speedy. It can be for Neverfulls, for Birkins, for Kellys. It can be for anything. They have so many different variations, so many different styles to choose from, so that way you can end up finding perfectly what you are, you know, you can end up finding something that's perfect for you, and you can always contact them to see if they can end up making a custom order for you as well. They have amazing customer service, and I highly, highly recommend them. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already and you would like to, please subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the red button down below and hitting the bell so you're notified when I upload videos, which is anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week. And I might have a video for you guys tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then it'll be Friday, but you will see me one more time this week. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, make it a fabulous day or not. The choice is yours. Have a great day, you guys.